The massive alien ship hung in space like a crystal cathedral made of light and metal. Its surface gleamed with colors that had no names in any human language. Inside the ship's main chamber, 12 different alien species sat around a table that floated in midair without any visible support. Ambassador Zixtar stretched his long, crystalline limbs and adjusted his position on the energy cushion that served as his chair. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors with his thoughts, and right now it pulsed with bored purple light. He had done this same meeting hundreds of times before with hundreds of different primitive species across the galaxy. Another, backwater planet, he said to his assistant. A floating ball of pure energy named Lumara, the third planet in what they call the Sol system. The beings there call themselves humans. Lumara flickered with mild interest. What did the initial scans show? The usual, Zixtar replied with a tired sigh. They fight among themselves. They pollute their own world. They have barely figured out how to leave their planet's surface. Nuclear weapons, crude rockets, and they still burn fossil fuels for energy. Completely typical for a pre-contact civilization. Across the chamber, War Commander Morthak of the Kethvar species tapped his 6 clawed fingers on the table. His people looked like giant insects with intelligence, and they had been conquering worlds for the Galactic Council for over 1,000 years. How many are there? Morthak asked, his voice coming through the universal translator as a harsh buzzing sound. About 8 billion of them, Zixtar answered. They breed quickly, which is normal for primitive species. They should provide good workers once we integrate them into the galactic workforce. Elder Vexnoth, whose people had evolved from machines millions of years ago, processed the data with mechanical precision. His chrome body whirred softly as he calculated. Their planet has significant resources, Vexnoth stated. Iron, rare earth elements, and substantial water reserves. The standard integration package should apply. 60% resource tribute, complete disarmament, and immediate submission to council authority. The other council members nodded in agreement. This was how it always worked. A new species would be discovered given a demonstration of the council's power, and then offered a simple choice. Join the galactic community under council rule or be eliminated as a threat to galactic peace. The chamber's main viewing screen flickered to life, showing a small human spacecraft approaching their position. The ship looked primitive compared to council technology, with obvious weld marks, mechanical joints, and what appeared to be chemical rocket engines. The human representative has arrived, announced the ship's artificial intelligence in a voice that somehow managed to sound both respectful and condescending at the same time. A few minutes later, the human was escorted into the chamber by 2 council security drones. The being walked on 2 legs, had hair covering the top of its head, and wore what appeared to be a blue and white uniform with various symbols sewn onto it. Zixtar studied the human with mild curiosity. Like most primitive species, it seemed small and fragile compared to the various council members. Its skin was a light brown color, and it had dark eyes that moved constantly, taking in every detail of the chamber. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty Dawn, the human said, speaking clearly into the translation device that had been provided. I represent the United Earth government in these first contact negotiations. The human's voice was steady, which was unusual. Most species were terrified during their first contact with the council. Some collapsed from fear, others tried to worship the council members as gods, and a few even attacked in desperate panic. But this human seemed calm, almost curious. Welcome, human Jake Morrison, Zixtar said, his crystal body shifting to a formal blue color. I am Ambassador Zixtar, speaking for the Galactic Council of 12 Species. We come in peace to welcome your species into the galactic community. Jake nodded politely. Thank you, Ambassador. Earth is honored by your visit and looks forward to peaceful relations with the galactic community. Zixtar activated a holographic display showing the standard council presentation. Images of vast cities floating in space, fleets of ships that could travel between stars in days, and worlds transformed into paradise through council technology filled the air around them. For over 50,000 years, the council has maintained peace and order throughout this galaxy, Zixtar explained. We have eliminated war, poverty, and suffering from hundreds of worlds. We offer the same gift to humanity. Jake studied the images carefully, asking questions about population numbers, technological capabilities, and governing structures. His questions were more detailed and thoughtful than Zixtar usually heard from primitive species. The terms of integration are simple and fair, Zixtar continued. Your species will surrender all weapons of war to ensure galactic peace. Your world's governments will be dissolved and replaced by council administrators who will ensure efficient resource management. In return, your people will receive food, shelter, and meaningful work contributing to galactic civilization. What kind of work? Jake asked. Mining, manufacturing, agriculture, Morthak answered impatiently. Basic labor that suits your current development level. As your species evolves under council guidance, more advanced opportunities may become available. Jake was quiet for a long moment, studying each of the council members in turn. When he finally spoke, his voice was still calm and polite. I appreciate the offer, Ambassador, but I don't think humanity is ready for that level of integration at this time. We'd prefer to start with simple trade relationships and cultural exchange. Perhaps we could establish some basic treaties and see how things develop from there. The chamber fell silent. In 12,000 years of council expansion, no species had ever declined integration. The very idea was so unprecedented that several council members had to run the humans' words through their translators multiple times to make sure they had heard correctly. Zixtar's crystal body flashed confused yellow colors. I'm not sure you understand, human Jake Morrison. This is not a negotiation. This is an offer of peaceful integration. The alternative is classification as a hostile species and appropriate action to protect galactic security. Jake smiled, which was apparently a human expression of friendliness, though to several council members it looked more like a threat display. I understand perfectly, Ambassador, and humanity respectfully declines your generous offer. We're quite happy managing our own affairs for now. The council members exchanged glances, communicating through their shared neural network in frequencies the human couldn't hear. This was definitely a first. Either this species was too primitive to understand the situation, or they were too arrogant to accept reality. Very well, Zixtar said finally. We will give your species 30 rotations to reconsider this decision. During that time, we will provide additional demonstrations of council capabilities to help you make a more informed choice. Jake nodded, cheerfully. That sounds fair. I'll relay your message to Earth's leadership. I'm sure they'll be very interested in seeing what you can do. After the human was escorted back to his ship, the council members sat in puzzled silence. Something about this first contact felt different, though none of them could quite identify what it was. Typical primitive arrogance, Morthak finally declared. Once they see a proper demonstration of our power, they'll beg to join the council, like all the others. But as they watched the small human ship depart, moving in patterns that seemed oddly sophisticated for such primitive technology, several council members wondered if this integration might not be as simple as they had assumed. 30 days after the first meeting, Admiral Morthak arrived in the Sol system with 50 of the council's finest warships. Each vessel was 3 times larger than anything the humans had ever built, and their hulls gleamed with energy shields that could stop the blast from an exploding star. Morthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Judgment, watching the red planet Mars grow larger on his viewing screen. His insect-like face showed satisfaction as his ships took positions around the planet. This demonstration would surely convince the humans to see reason. Begin scanning their system, Morthak ordered his tactical officer. I want to know exactly what these primitives have built. On Earth's moon, Admiral Sam Rodriguez watched the alien fleet through the observation deck of Luna Defense Station. He had been expecting this visit ever since Captain Morrison returned from his meeting with the Council. Sam was a career military officer who had spent his life preparing for conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for this. How many ships do they have? Asked Dr. Lisa Parker, who stood beside him studying the alien vessels through a high-powered telescope. Lisa was Earth's leading expert on alien technology, though until a month ago alien technology had been purely theoretical. 50 confirmed, Sam replied, checking his tactical display. Each one is about the size of a city block. Our biggest ship would look like a rowboat next to one of those things. Lisa adjusted her telescope and made notes on her datapad. Look at those energy signatures. Their power output is incredible. Each ship is generating more energy than our entire global grid. 3 hours into the demonstration, Morthak began his show of force. The first target was a large asteroid floating between Mars and Jupiter. The alien admiral selected it because it was roughly the same size as one of Earth's larger cities. "Fire the planet cracker," Morthak commanded. A beam of pure energy shot from the Eternal Judgment's main weapon. The asteroid, which had existed for billions of years, simply vanished in a flash of light. Not even dust remained. Back on Luna Station, Sam watched the display with grim fascination. They just erased that asteroid completely. Our nuclear weapons couldn't have done a tenth of that damage. Lisa was busy recording everything with her instruments. "Sam, look at this. The energy beam they used actually tore apart the atomic structure of the rock. They're not just destroying things, they're unmaking them at the molecular level." For the next demonstration, Morthak ordered his fleet to create a temporary wormhole. 12 ships arranged themselves in a perfect circle and began generating a spinning vortex of bent space-time. The wormhole opened like a doorway to another part of the galaxy, showing distant stars that were thousands of light-years away. "Impressive," Sam admitted. "They can travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly," but Lisa was frowning at her readings. "That's not what's bothering me. Look at their ship designs. They're incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly standardized. Every ship in that fleet is almost identical to every other ship. So where's the innovation? Where's the creativity? These are clearly mass-produced vessels built to exact specifications. But look at our ships." Lisa pointed to the small human fleet that was observing from a safe distance. "Every single one of our ships is different. We build them like works of art, not like factory products." Meanwhile, Morthak was having problems of his own. His science officer, a crystalline being named Korth, was reporting some very strange readings from the human ships. "Admiral, I'm getting impossible data from their vessels," Korth said, his crystal body pulsing with confused colors. "According to my scans, their fusion reactors are operating at efficiency levels that shouldn't be possible with their technology base." "Explain," Morthak demanded. "Their reactors are producing energy signatures that match theoretical designs our best scientists consider impossible to build. Either our scans are wrong, or these humans have somehow figured out things that our civilization has been trying to understand for millennia." Morthak dismissed the report with a wave of his clawed hand. "Primitive sensor errors. Continue the demonstration." The next show of power involved the fleet's defensive capabilities. All 50 ships activated their shields at maximum power, creating a barrier of energy that could have protected an entire planet from a supernova explosion. But as the demonstration continued, more disturbing reports reached Morthak's attention. His communications officer reported that human ships were maintaining perfect coordination across their entire solar system without any detectable communication signals. "How are they talking to each other?" the communications officer asked. "I'm not picking up any radio transmissions, subspace signals, or quantum entanglement communications, yet their ships are moving in perfect formation, as if they were all controlled by a single mind." Dr. Parker was asking herself the same question as she watched human ships near Jupiter adjust their positions in response to movements by ships near Earth. The coordination was happening faster than light-speed communications should allow. "Sam, are you seeing this?" Lisa asked. "Our ships are responding to each other instantaneously across distances that should require several minutes for any signal to travel." Sam checked his own instruments and confirmed her observation. "That's impossible according to everything we know about physics." "Unless we know something about physics that they don't," Lisa replied thoughtfully. On the third day of demonstrations, Morthak decided to scan human brains directly to better understand their primitive thinking patterns. What his scientists discovered made no sense at all. "Admiral," reported his chief scientist, a mechanical being called Unit 7, "human brain scans are showing neural activity patterns that don't match any known intelligent species." "What do you mean?" Their brains are processing information in ways that appear to violate the basic laws of logic. They're simultaneously considering multiple contradictory possibilities and somehow reaching conclusions that work despite being theoretically impossible. Morthak studied the brain scan data on his screen. Human neural networks were far more complex than they should be for a species at their development level. More disturbing, the humans seemed to be using parts of their brains that served no obvious function, creating patterns of thought that no council species had ever achieved. Perhaps they're just confused, Morthak suggested. Primitive minds often struggle with complex concepts. But Unit 7's mechanical voice carried a note of uncertainty that was unusual for his species. Admiral, I don't believe these are signs of confusion. I believe these are signs of a type of intelligence that our models cannot account for. On the fourth day, Morthak attempted to demonstrate Council technology by having his ships rearrange the orbits of several asteroids. It was a delicate operation that required precise control of gravitational fields and showed off the Council's mastery over the fundamental forces of the universe. The demonstration went perfectly. Asteroids weighing billions of tons were moved into new orbits with surgical precision. But as Morthak watched the human ships observe his work, he noticed something that made his insect-like blood run cold. The humans weren't impressed. They were taking notes. Dr. Parker was indeed taking extensive notes as she watched the alien ships manipulate gravity fields. Sam, do you see how they're doing that? They're using rotating gravitational generators to create artificial gravity wells. Is that significant? It's exactly what our theoretical physics team proposed last year for our next generation of spacecraft. We just haven't had the resources to build it yet. But watching them do it, I can see 3 ways we could improve on their design. By the end of the 4th day, Morthak was beginning to feel the first stirrings of doubt. The humans were supposed to be cowering in fear by now, begging to join the Council for protection. Instead, they seemed to be treating his demonstrations like a free education in advanced technology. Worse, his own scientists were reporting more impossible readings from human technology. Their ships were somehow bending space-time without using any detectable gravitational generators. Their communication systems were working through principles that Council science said were impossible, and their fusion reactors were producing energy through processes that violated known physics. Admiral, Unit 7 reported on the 5th day, I believe we may have underestimated this species. Morthak's mandibles clicked together in frustration. They're primitives who barely know how to split the atom. How could we have underestimated them? Because, Unit 7 replied, they appear to be primitives who have accidentally discovered things that our most advanced civilizations have been trying to learn for millions of years. As the demonstration week continued, one fact became increasingly clear to everyone watching. The Council had come to impress the humans with their superior technology. But somehow, impossibly, the humans were learning from every demonstration and finding ways to improve on everything they saw. Morthak began to wonder if this simple intimidation mission might turn into something much more complicated than anyone had expected. 7 days after Admiral Morthak finished his demonstration, Earth sent its response to the Galactic Council. The message was simple. Humanity still declined to join the Council under their terms, but they offered to share some of their own technology as a gesture of friendship. Commander Alex Stone led the small human fleet that approached the Council ships near Mars. His flagship was called the New Frontier, and it looked nothing like the crude vessel that Captain Morrison had used during first contact. The ship's hull seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it wasn't entirely solid. Morthak watched the approaching human ships with growing irritation. There were only 12 human vessels compared to his 50, and they were still much smaller than Council ships. Yet something about them made his tactical instincts scream warnings he couldn't explain. Admiral, his sensor operator reported, I'm having trouble getting clear readings on the human ships. They seem to be phasing in and out of normal space-time. Explain that, Morthak demanded. Sir, they appear to be solid one moment and partially invisible the next. It's as if they're shifting between different dimensions. On the New Frontiers bridge, Commander Stone checked his instruments one final time. The humans had spent the past week analyzing everything the Council had shown them, and their scientists had made remarkable breakthroughs. All ships, prepare to demonstrate phasing technology, Stone announced over the communication system. Remember, we're here to make friends, not enemies. Keep the weapons powered down. Engineer Maya Brooks sat at her control station, monitoring the quantum field generators that made their new technology possible. She had been working without sleep for 6 days to perfect the systems, and she was excited to see how they performed. Phase count. Drives are online and stable, Maya reported. We can maintain dimensional shift for up to 6 hours without strain on the generators. Dr. Ryan Clark, the physicist who had developed the theoretical framework for their new engines, watched his readings with satisfaction. Temporal displacement fields are functioning perfectly. We're operating in accelerated time compared to normal space. The first human ship, commanded by Captain Nina Foster, began its demonstration by flying directly toward one of the Council vessels. Morthak's gunners prepared to fire, expecting the humans to change course at the last moment. Instead, the human ship passed right through the Council vessel as if neither ship was really there. How did they do that? Morthak's tactical officer asked in shock. The human ship rematerialized on the other side, completely undamaged. It had somehow passed through solid matter without affecting either vessel. Admiral, the science officer reported with panic in his voice. That ship just violated the basic laws of physics. Matter cannot pass through matter without some form of energy transfer or dimensional manipulation. Then they must be using dimensional manipulation, Morthak replied, though he sounded less certain than before. Sir, our sensors show no dimensional distortion fields. According to our instruments, what we just saw is impossible. The second human demonstration was even more disturbing. Commander Luke Harrison's ship suddenly split into 5 identical copies of itself. Each copy flew in a different direction, and all 5 appeared to be completely real to the Council's sensors. Multiple ship signatures confirmed, the sensor operator reported. But sir, I'm reading identical energy patterns from all 5 vessels. They all show the same crew life signs, the same power output, and the same mass readings. Morthak studied the tactical display in confusion. Are they using holographic projections? No, sir. All 5 ships are registering as solid matter. They're all real. Maya Brooks smiled as she watched the Council ships trying to track all 5 versions of Harrison's vessel. The quantum multiplication system was working even better than she had hoped. Ryan, are you seeing this? She asked the physicist. The temporal field is holding steady across all 5 probability states. Ryan nodded as he studied his instruments. The Council sensors are trying to determine which ship is the real one. They don't understand that all 5 are equally real until the quantum wave function collapses. The third demonstration involved gravity manipulation, but not the way the Council expected. Captain Steve Morrison, Jake's younger brother, used his ship's gravity drives to create impossible flight patterns. His vessel flew in spirals that defied physics, made right-angle turns at full speed, and even flew backwards while pointing forward. Their ship is pulling maneuvers that should tear it apart, Morthak's flight operations officer reported. The G-forces alone should kill every crew member aboard. But the human ship continued its impossible dance through space, moving in ways that no known technology could achieve. Worse, the Council's sensors couldn't detect any gravity manipulation equipment on the human vessels. Dr. Lisa Parker observed the demonstrations from Luna Station with growing excitement. Sam, do you realize what our ships are doing out there? They're operating on principles that the Council's science can't even detect, let alone understand. Admiral Sam Rodriguez was less excited and more worried. Lisa, if our technology is this far ahead of theirs, why have they been ruling the galaxy for 50,000 years? Because, Lisa replied thoughtfully, I don't think our technology is more advanced. I think it's completely different. We're not building better versions of their tools. We're building tools they never imagined could exist. The fourth demonstration nearly caused panic among the Council fleet. Engineer Paul Rogers commanded a ship that began to manipulate time itself. His vessel seemed to slow down and speed up, randomly, sometimes moving so fast it became a blur, other times crawling so slowly it appeared to be standing still. Admiral, Unit 7 reported with mechanical precision. That ship is operating in multiple time streams simultaneously. It's experiencing time at different rates in different parts of its hull. That's impossible, Morthak stated flatly. Yes, sir. It is impossible according to all known physics. Yet it's happening. The most disturbing demonstration came when Captain Beth Turner's ship simply vanished from normal space entirely. It didn't jump to hyperspace or engage any known form of faster-than-light travel. It simply stopped existing in the same reality as the Council ships. Where did it go? Morthak demanded. Unknown, sir. It's not in hyperspace, subspace, or any other dimensional layer we can detect. According to our sensors, it has ceased to exist. Then the ship reappeared behind the Council fleet, having somehow traveled several million kilometers without crossing the space in between. Sir, the communications officer reported nervously. The human ship is requesting permission to come aboard our vessel. Absolutely not, Morthak replied immediately. Sir, they're not requesting permission to dock. They're asking permission to materialize directly inside our ship. Morthak felt his insect blood turn cold. They can do that? According to their message, their matter transport system can place objects inside other objects without opening any barriers. They're asking permission as a courtesy. The final demonstration was the most terrifying of all. All 12 human ships suddenly linked together in some way the Council couldn't understand. They moved as a single unit despite being separated by thousands of kilometers, responded to threats that hadn't happened yet, and seemed to share information instantly across impossible distances. They're operating as a collective intelligence, Unit 7 observed. But unlike our neural networks, their connection doesn't rely on any detectable communication system. Dr. Clark smiled as he watched the Council ships trying to understand what they were seeing. Maya, they're trying to figure out how we're sharing information faster than light. Should we tell them about quantum consciousness entanglement? Maya asked. Not yet. I don't think they're ready to learn that human brains can directly interface with quantum reality. As the demonstrations ended, Commander Stone opened a communication channel to Admiral Morthak. Admiral, we hope these demonstrations show that humanity has some useful technologies to offer in a partnership between equals. We're still not interested in joining your council as subordinates, but we'd be happy to work together as allies. Morthak stared at the communication screen for a long moment before responding. Everything he had just witnessed violated the fundamental assumptions about reality that council science was built upon. Either these humans had somehow learned to break the laws of physics, or the council had been wrong about what those laws actually were. We will need to consult with the full council before making any agreements, Morthak replied carefully. Of course, Stone answered cheerfully. Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready to talk. As the human ships withdrew, to a respectful distance, Morthak realized that everything about this first contact had gone wrong from the very beginning. The humans weren't a primitive species that needed guidance. They were something else entirely, and he was beginning to fear that the Council had encountered something far more dangerous than they could handle. His ships had come to demonstrate superior technology to primitive savages. Instead, the savages had just demonstrated technology that made the Council's greatest achievements look like children's toys. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Morthak was genuinely afraid. 2 weeks after the human demonstration, the Galactic Council declared humanity a rogue species that posed a threat to galactic peace. War leader Vex Noth arrived in the Sol system with the Grand Armada, a fleet of 1,000 warships representing the combined military might of 12 civilizations. The massive fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. Each ship was a masterpiece of Council engineering, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could survive the explosion of stars. Vex Noth stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Hammer of Justice, studying tactical displays that showed the positions of human forces throughout their solar system. His mechanical body processed battle data with cold efficiency, while his artificial mind calculated victory probabilities. Human fleet strength? Vex Noth asked his tactical officer. 30 vessels confirmed, war leader. All are smaller than our standard frigate class. Their largest ship masses approximately 1/10 of our smallest destroyer. Resistance probability? Negligible. Total victory estimated within 4 hours of engagement. Admiral Carl Davis watched the approaching alien armada from the bridge of his flagship, the Constitution. As Earth's senior military commander, Carl had spent months preparing for this moment, but seeing 1,000 enemy warships approaching still made his stomach twist with worry. Status report, Carl ordered his staff. Colonel Beth Turner, now serving as his tactical coordinator, checked her displays. All 30 ships are in position. Crews are ready for combat operations. Quantum field generators are at full power. Any word from the diplomatic channel? Carl asked. The council transmitted one message. Beth replied. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. They're giving us 1 hour to respond. Carl nodded grimly. Send our reply. Tell them humanity declines their generous offer. Dr. Ryan Clark worked frantically in the Constitution's science lab, making final adjustments to the new weapon systems that had been installed during the past 2 weeks. The technology was so advanced that he barely understood how it worked himself. Maya, are the probability cannons online? Ryan asked. Engineer Maya Brooks checked her instruments from the nearby engineering station. All quantum weapons are charged and ready. The reality manipulation fields are stable. Good, because we're about to find out if our theories about combat applications actually work. The battle began when Vexanath ordered his forward ships to open fire on the human fleet. Energy beams that could melt mountains lanced through space toward the small human vessels. Captain Nina Foster commanded the first ship to come under attack. As the deadly energy beam approached her vessel, she activated the probability drive and watched her ship split into dozens of possible versions of itself. The council weapons struck empty space where her ship had been a moment before. All the possible versions of her ship existed simultaneously until the quantum wave collapsed, leaving her vessel completely undamaged in a new position. Direct hit confirmed, reported Vexanath's weapons officer. Target destroyed. Negative. The sensor operator interrupted. Target is still active. New position bearing 27 Mark IV. Vexanath processed this data with mechanical confusion. Explain the target's survival. Unknown, war leader. Our weapon struck the target's exact location, but somehow the target was not there when impact occurred. Commander Luke Harrison engaged 3 council destroyers simultaneously with tactics that made no sense to the alien commanders. His ship appeared to be in 6 different places at once, firing weapons that seemed to bend space-time itself. The council ships fired their most powerful weapons at all 6 positions, but each time their beams struck, the human vessel simply wasn't there. Meanwhile, Harrison's return fire passed right through the council ship's shields as if the protective barriers didn't exist. Shields are failing, reported the captain of the destroyer Stellarmite. Enemy weapons are bypassing our defensive systems. How is that possible? Vexanath demanded over the communication channel. Unknown, war leader. Their weapons appear to be striking us from inside our own shields. Captain Steve Morrison found himself surrounded by 20 council ships all firing at him simultaneously. Instead of trying to escape, he activated his ship's temporal displacement field and began operating in accelerated time. From the council's perspective, Morrison's ship suddenly became a blur of motion, dodging between energy beams that seemed to move in slow motion. His return fire struck with impossible accuracy, hitting vital systems on multiple enemy ships before they could react. Target is moving at impossible speeds, reported one of the attacking captains. Velocity readings are beyond our sensor capacity. All ships concentrate fire on Grid 77, Vexanath ordered. Saturate the entire area. But by the time the concentrated firepower reached Grid 77, Morrison's ship was already attacking ships in 3 different sectors simultaneously. The most disturbing development came when Captain Beth Turner's ship began using what the humans called reality editing. Her vessel didn't just dodge enemy fire or move to new positions. It changed the fundamental nature of space around itself. Council energy beams that should have traveled in straight lines suddenly curved away from her ship. Missiles that locked onto her vessel found themselves chasing targets that had never existed. Most impossibly, her return fire seemed to strike enemy ships before she had actually fired her weapons. War leader, reported his science officer with panic in his electronic voice. The human vessel is violating causality itself. Effects are occurring before causes. Vexnoth's mechanical brain struggled to process this information. Clarify your report. Sir, that ship's weapons are hitting our vessels before the weapons are fired. It's operating outside the normal flow of time. Dr. Lisa Parker monitored the battle from Luna Station with a mixture of excitement and terror. The human ships were performing beyond even her most optimistic predictions, but she was beginning to realize something that worried her deeply. Sam, our ships aren't just winning this battle, she said to Admiral Rodriguez. They're making the Council's most advanced technology look completely useless. That's good, isn't it? Sam replied. Maybe. But what happens when a civilization that has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years realizes that everything they know about physics and warfare is wrong? The turning point came when the Council ships attempted to use their most powerful weapon, a device that could destabilize the atomic structure of matter itself. 10 ships working together targeted Commander Alex Stone's flagship with a beam that should have reduced it to subatomic particles. Stone activated his ship's dimensional anchor and phased the vessel into a parallel reality where the weapon didn't exist. The massive energy beam passed through normal space, striking nothing, while Stone's ship fired back from a dimension the Council couldn't reach. Impossible, Vexnoth stated flatly as he watched his most powerful weapon fail completely. Reality cannot be altered by technology. War leader, his tactical officer reported with growing desperation. We have lost 47 ships. Human casualties remain at 0. How many humans' ships have been destroyed? None, sir. We have not successfully damaged a single enemy vessel. Vexnoth processed battle data for several long seconds. His mechanical mind was designed for logical analysis, but the events he was witnessing defied all logic. Tactical assessment? He requested. Unknown war leader. The enemy is employing weapons and defenses that our databases cannot classify. They appear to be operating under different physical laws than the rest of the universe. The final phase of the battle began when the human ship stopped playing defense and went on the attack. Captain Carl Davis led all 30 vessels in a coordinated assault that demonstrated the true terrifying nature of human warfare. The human ships didn't attack in formations or follow predictable patterns. Instead, each vessel operated with complete independence while maintaining perfect coordination with every other ship. They struck from multiple dimensions simultaneously, used weapons that ignored shields and armor, and moved through space-time in ways that made tracking them impossible. Most disturbing of all, the humans began boarding disabled Council ships. But they didn't use transport beams or docking procedures. Human soldiers simply materialized inside enemy vessels, moving through solid walls as if they weren't there. Intruder alert, came panicked reports from dozens of Council ships. Enemy soldiers are appearing inside our ships without breaching the hull. Vexnoth watched his fleet falling apart around him as human boarding parties took control of ship after ship. The human soldiers didn't seem to need weapons or equipment. They simply touched Council control systems and somehow took command of alien technology that should have been impossible for them to understand. War leader, his communications officer reported, "We are receiving surrender offers from the human fleet. They want to surrender?" Vexnoth asked with surprise. "No, sir. They are offering to accept our surrender." For the first time in his existence, War leader Vexnoth felt something his mechanical mind identified as fear. His fleet of 1,000 ships, representing the pinnacle of galactic military power, had been defeated by 30 vessels from a species the Council had dismissed as primitive savages. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council held an emergency session aboard their mobile world ship Eternal Wisdom. The massive vessel was larger than most moons and had served as the Council's headquarters for 20,000 years. Never before had its halls been filled with such confusion and fear. High Counselor Kethmore called the session to order with his ancient voice trembling. He was the oldest being in the galaxy, having lived for over 1,000,000 years, and he had never encountered anything like the humans. "We are gathered to discuss the impossible," Kethmore announced to the assembled representatives. "A species that should have been easily defeated has just destroyed our greatest fleet using technology. that violates every law of physics we understand. Ambassador Zixtar's crystal body flickered with nervous yellow colors as he stood to address the Council. High Counselor, I must report that our initial assessment of humanity was completely wrong. They are not the primitive species we believed them to be. Then what are they? Demanded War Leader Vexnath, whose mechanical voice carried notes of confusion that his programming had never been designed to express. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kate Sullivan, a human archaeologist, appeared on the main viewing screen. She had been invited to address the Council via quantum communication link, and her presence caused murmurs of shock throughout the chamber. Honorable Council members, Kate began with calm confidence, I believe I can explain what you've encountered. Humanity represents something that has never existed in your galaxy before. Explain, Kethmore ordered. Kate activated a holographic display showing Earth's geological history. Every species in your council evolved on stable worlds with predictable environments. Your planets provided consistent challenges that allowed your civilizations to develop along logical, specialized paths. The display showed the peaceful evolution of various council species over millions of years. Each had developed in response to specific environmental pressures, becoming masters of particular skills or technologies. Earth was different, Kate continued. Our planet tried to kill us constantly. We survived 5 major extinction events, dozens of ice ages, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun for years, and asteroid impacts that wiped out most life on our world. Council members studied the violent history of Earth with growing amazement. No world in their experience had been so consistently hostile to life. Each time our planet nearly destroyed us, we had 2 choices, Kate explained. Adapt or die. Most species would have become extinct. Humans became something else entirely. Dr. Paul Rogers, a human biologist, joined the transmission from his laboratory on Earth. Counselors, human evolution is unique in the galaxy. Instead of specializing like your species did, we became ultimate generalists. Every challenge forced us to develop new capabilities without losing our old ones. Paul displayed brain scans showing human neural activity. Our brains don't just process information like your species do. We create new realities through pure imagination, then find ways to make those realities work. Unit 7, the mechanical representative, processed this data with increasing alarm. You are claiming that human consciousness operates on principles unknown to galactic science. Exactly, Paul replied. Human minds naturally function in quantum states. We don't just think about possibilities, we exist in multiple probability states simultaneously until we choose which reality to experience. Elder Korth of the crystalline Velnari species pulsed with confused colors. This is impossible. Consciousness cannot directly interface with quantum reality. For your species, that's true, Kate answered. But humans evolved under conditions so extreme that our consciousness learned to manipulate reality at the quantum level just to survive. When everything around you constantly changes, you either learn to change with it, or you die. High Counselor Kethmore was silent for a long moment as he processed this information. You are saying that humans naturally possess abilities that our most advanced scientists consider theoretical impossibilities. Not abilities, corrected Dr. Amy Rodriguez, Earth's leading physicist, as she joined the communication. Ways of thinking. You see the universe as a set of fixed laws that cannot be broken. Humans see those same laws as suggestions that can be improved upon. Amy displayed mathematical equations that made several council scientists recoil in confusion. Your technology works by following the rules of physics perfectly. Our technology works by finding loopholes in those rules and exploiting them. But how is such thinking possible? Asked Lumara, the energy being. Desperation, Amy replied simply. When your planet tries to kill you every few thousand years, you learn to think in ways that more stable species never develop. You learn to see problems not as barriers, but as puzzles with solutions that haven't been discovered yet. Dr. Ryan. Clark appeared on screen next to Amy, holding a device that looked like a simple metal cube. This is a quantum probability manipulator, According to your physics, it shouldn't work. According to human physics, it works because we believe it should work and we found a way to make belief into reality. The cube in Ryan's hand began to glow and shift shape, becoming a sphere, then a pyramid, then something that seemed to exist in too many dimensions for the viewing screen to display properly. You're manipulating matter at the quantum level with conscious thought, Unit 7 observed with mechanical awe. We're manipulating reality with conscious thought, Ryan corrected. Matter, energy, space, time, they're all just different expressions of the same quantum field. Humans learn to influence that field directly. Vex Noth's tactical processors struggled to understand the implications. If humans can alter reality through consciousness, how do we defend against such capabilities? You don't, answered Admiral Carl Davis as he joined the communication from his flagship. But you don't need to defend against us because we're not your enemies. We never wanted to fight you. Then what do you want? Kethmore asked. To explore, Carl replied. To learn. To find new challenges and new solutions. Your galaxy has been peaceful for 50,000 years, which means it's been stagnant for 50,000 years. We want to help you grow again. Dr. Lisa Parker appeared on screen with data displays showing galactic civilization statistics. Your technology hasn't advanced significantly in 20,000 years. Your populations have been stable for millennia. Your art, culture, and science have all reached plateaus because you've eliminated the challenges that drive innovation. Challenges create growth, Kate added. Comfort creates stagnation. You've built a perfect galactic civilization, but perfection means there's nowhere left to go. What are you suggesting? Elder Korth asked. Partnership, replied Commander Alex Stone, speaking from his ship's bridge. You have incredible knowledge and resources. We have the ability to think in ways that can take that knowledge to places you've never imagined. Amy Rodriguez brought up displays showing theoretical technologies that made Council scientists gasp in amazement. These are some of the projects human scientists are working on. Engines that travel through time instead of space. Weapons that heal instead of harm. Cities that exist in pocket dimensions. Art that becomes reality. All of these violate known physics, Unit 7 pointed out. Known to you, Amy replied with a smile. Humans have been violating known physics since we learned to make fire. We're really good at making impossible things work. High Counselor Kethmore sat in stunned silence as he realized the full implications of what he was hearing. Humanity wasn't just another species with advanced technology. They were evolution's answer to the question of what happens when consciousness itself becomes a force of nature. You're offering to share these capabilities with the Council? Kethmore asked. We're offering to explore them together, Kate replied. Human creativity combined with galactic knowledge and resources could achieve things that neither of us could accomplish alone. But this would change everything, Zixtar protested, his crystal body flickering with uncertain colors. Our entire understanding of reality, our place in the universe, our conception of what's possible. Yes, agreed Dr. Sullivan with enthusiasm. Isn't that exciting? For the first time in his million-year existence, High Counselor Kethmore felt something he had almost forgotten. He felt curiosity about what tomorrow might bring. The Council will need time to consider this proposal, Kethmore announced. Of course, Carl replied. But while you're considering it, remember this. The universe is infinite, which means there are infinite possibilities waiting to be discovered. The only question is whether you want to discover them with us or watch us discover them without you. As the communication ended, the Council chamber fell into thoughtful silence. For 50,000 years, they had believed they understood their place in the universe. Now they realized they had been living in a very small corner of a much larger reality. The humans had shown them that the universe wasn't a machine with fixed rules. It was a canvas where consciousness could paint new realities into existence. The only question now was whether the Galactic Council was brave enough to pick up a brush. 6 months after the emergency council session, the galaxy looked completely different. The massive station that orbited Earth was a symbol of the new order, built with human creativity and council resources working together. Ships from dozens, of species docked there daily, all eager to learn from the impossible humans. Ambassador Victoria Lane stood at the observation deck of the new Galactic Cooperation Center, watching as vessels that should never have existed flew past the windows. A Velnari crystal ship had been modified with human quantum drives, allowing it to exist in 7 dimensions at once. A Kethvar insect vessel used probability fields to scout dangerous regions of space without actually going there. Status report. On the exploration missions, Victoria requested from her aide, Captain Steve Morrison. Steve checked his data tablet, which was itself a marvel of human council cooperation. The device could access information from across the galaxy instantly and translate between over 300 different languages and thought patterns. The Andromeda mission launched this morning, Steve reported. Captain Nina Foster is leading a joint fleet of 15 ships with crews from 8 different species. They're using the new dimensional tunnel technology to reach the next galaxy in just 3 weeks instead of 3,000 years. Victoria nodded with satisfaction. The Andromeda galaxy had been completely unreachable using traditional faster-than-light travel. Human engineers had solved the problem by building tunnels through folded spacetime that connected distant points in the universe. What about the Time Exploration Project? Dr. Ryan Clark's team has successfully mapped 12 different historical periods. They're working with council archaeologists to study galactic civilizations that existed millions of years ago. The data is completely changing our understanding of how consciousness evolved throughout the universe. The Time Exploration Project had been one of the most controversial human innovations. By using consciousness-guided temporal fields, human scientists could observe past events without changing them. Several council species had been disturbed to learn that their own histories were very different from what they had believed. Dr. Amy Rodriguez entered the observation deck carrying a device that looked like a miniature star contained in a crystal sphere. As Earth's new director of impossible physics, she was responsible for overseeing the research projects that combined human imagination with council knowledge. Victoria, you need to see this, Amy said excitedly. The Healing Weapon Project just achieved a major breakthrough. Amy activated the device and the miniature star began to pulse with gentle light. We've figured out how to make weapons that repair damage instead of causing it. Watch this. She pointed the device at a damaged section of the station's wall, where a minor meteor impact had left scratches in the metal. The light from the weapon touched the damaged area, and the scratches simply vanished, leaving the wall looking brand new. How does it work? Victoria asked. It reverses entropy at the quantum level, Amy explained. Instead of increasing disorder like normal weapons do, it increases order. It can heal injuries, repair ships, even restore dead planets to life. This was typical of human innovation since joining the galactic community. While other species built bigger and more destructive weapons, humans built tools that created instead of destroyed. Their military technology was designed to disable enemies without permanent harm, capture instead of kill, and convert hostility into cooperation. Captain Carl Davis arrived at the observation deck with news from the Outer Rim territories. As commander of the new Galactic Defense Force, he oversaw security for the rapidly expanding sphere of explored space. Victoria, we've received first contact signals from the Magellanic Clouds, Carl reported. It looks like there are entire civilizations in those galaxies that we never knew existed. Are they friendly? Unknown, but they're curious. The signals include mathematical proofs and star charts which suggests they want to communicate. I'm recommending we send a joint Human Council first contact team. Victoria smiled. Approved. Who do you recommend to lead it? Commander Luke Harrison. He's become an expert at dealing with species that think in ways we don't understand. His ship can exist in multiple realities simultaneously, which should help if we encounter beings that operate in dimensions we can't perceive. Dr. Lisa Parker joined the group, carrying reports from the various research stations scattered throughout human space. As the new director of xenobiology, she studied how different species could work together to achieve things none of them could manage alone. The symbiosis experiments are showing remarkable results, Lisa announced. We've discovered that when different species work together on complex problems, they don't just combine their abilities. They create entirely new forms of intelligence. She showed them a holographic display of a research team working on a space station near Jupiter. The team included humans, Velnari crystals, Kethvar insects, energy beings, and mechanical entities all working together on a single project. Each species contributes something unique, Lisa explained. Human creativity, Velnari logic, Kethvar precision, luminoid energy manipulation, and cognitron calculation power. But when they work together, they create insights that none of them could achieve individually. What are they working on? Victoria asked. They're trying to build a consciousness amplifier, a device that could expand the thinking capacity of any species to levels we can't imagine. If it works, it could be the next step in the evolution of intelligence itself. Engineer Maya Brooks arrived with the most exciting news of all. She had been leading the project to explore the dangerous regions of space that had been off-limits to galactic civilization for millions of years. Victoria, we've made contact with something incredible, Maya announced breathlessly. In the galactic core, where the radiation levels should kill any known form of life, we found beings made of pure thought. Explain, Victoria requested. They're not physical creatures at all. They're living ideas that exist in the quantum field itself. They've been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for a species intelligent enough to communicate with them. Maya activated a communication device that projected a shimmering field of light and color. Patterns formed in the light that somehow conveyed meaning directly to the mind without using words or images. They say they've been alone for so long that they had given up hope of finding others who could understand them, Maya continued. But human quantum consciousness can interface with their thought patterns. We can actually talk to living ideas. Victoria felt a sense of wonder that still amazed her after months of impossible discoveries. Every day brought news of new civilizations, new forms of life, and new possibilities that no one had imagined before humans joined the galactic community. What do they want? Victoria asked. To share knowledge, to explore together, to find other forms of consciousness that might exist in places we haven't thought to look. They say the universe is much stranger and more wonderful than any physical species has ever suspected. Admiral Helen Davis, Carl's sister and commander of the Deep Space Exploration Fleet, contacted them through the quantum communication system. Victoria, you need to hear this. Helen's voice came through clearly despite being transmitted from the edge of the galaxy. We've detected signals from outside our galaxy entirely, not from Andromeda or the Magellanic Clouds, but from galaxies so distant that light from them takes billions of years to reach us. What kind of signals? Consciousness patterns. There are minds out there so vast and ancient that they make our entire galaxy look like a single thought in an infinite brain. And they're all waking up because they've noticed something new and interesting happening here. Victoria looked out at the bustling space around Earth, where ships from dozens of species worked together on projects that had been impossible just months before. Humans had not just joined galactic civilization, they had awakened it from a sleep that had lasted for millennia. So what happens now? Steve asked. Victoria smiled as she watched a human child playing with alien children from 6 different species, all of them laughing in ways that transcended language barriers. Now we find out what's really possible, she replied. We've spent 6 months learning that everything we thought we knew about the universe was just the beginning. There are infinite galaxies filled with infinite forms of consciousness, all waiting to discover what they can accomplish together. She paused as a new ship appeared in the distance, its design unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It seemed to be built from crystallized music and moved by sailing on currents of pure mathematics. The universe is much bigger than we imagined, Victoria continued. And thanks to humanity's refusal to accept limitations, we're finally ready to explore all of it. As if responding to her words, signals began arriving from directions that had no names, carrying messages from minds that existed in ways no one had dreamed possible. The age of exploration had truly begun, and there was no limit to how far it might go. The humans had shown the galaxy that impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been figured out yet. Now the entire universe was waiting to see what would be figured out next.